Hello, everyone, and welcome to this very fun bonus episode of the Reading Party podcast. This episode sees us welcome actors Melissanthi Mahut and Michael Antonakos, who voice siblings Kassandra and Alexios in Ubisoft's 2018 title Assassin's Creed Odyssey. This discussion dives into their backgrounds, we talk a little about their connections to ancient Greek mythology, and about their experiences working on the game. So, join us for this super fun conversation, and we hope you enjoy.
Hello and welcome to the Reading Party podcast. I'm your host, Megan Lewis, and as always, I am joined by my wonderful co-host, Lexi Henning. Today we have two amazing guests with us, and believe me when I tell you that nailing down a recording date was a real accomplishment, because as professional actors, they both have incredibly busy schedules. I'd like to welcome Melissanthi Mahut and Michael Antonakos. Thank you both so much for making time to talk with us. By way of introduction, Melissanthi and Michael are both Canadian Greek actors and Greek mythology enthusiasts. They voiced the two main characters in Assassin's Creed Odyssey, Spartan siblings Kassandra and Alexios. Melissanthi also played Calliope in The Sandman and Mita Xenakis in the Eurovision Song Contest The Story of Fire Saga. Michael has worked on other video games, including Dead Rising 4 and Mass Effect Andromeda, and has had acting roles including The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina the Teenage Witch, Arrow, Supernatural, and my personal favourite of the list, Odysseus' Voyage to the Underworld. They're here today to talk to us about the use of the ancient world in acting and Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Now, long-time listeners will know that usually I do the plot recaps here, but Lexi has logged over 1,700 hours of gameplay in Assassin's Creed Odyssey, so she is going to do the honours this time. And you can't see this, but Michael is like, what on earth is going on here? And Melissanthi is just going crazy over this time. So, Lexi, congratulations. Tell us all about Assassin's Creed Odyssey, what people need to know to enjoy this conversation.
It follows two siblings who are of Spartan heritage. One goes on to grow up and become a mythios, which is essentially a mercenary. They grow up on the island of Kefalonia. There's three distinct plot lines, but the main one I would say is like what we call the family plot lines. Essentially, the main one, Kassandra, is canon. So I will be referring to the mythios as Kassandra, sorry. So essentially, she kind of grows up and gets set on this great journey into the Peloponnesian War, and she has to go find her family. She has to find her parents who have been separated, kind of disappeared from Sparta, kind of mystery thing. And then we kind of learn along the way that there's this evil cult that is kind of, or proto-cult that's controlling everything, which is where we meet Alexios, as he is now Demos, this epic warrior who is kind of there to spearhead the cultist evil endeavors. Basically, I want to say like 60 hours of the main game is reuniting your family. And then some of the other major plot points are killing off the cult, and then there is a whole other storyline as well that's kind of mythological and goes to the Assassin's Creed franchise. We're going to get into these characters, we're going to get into some of the subplots, so I don't want to try to recap those too much as it might get a bit confusing. As I said, Megan, I was trying to be brief, and that's as brief as I could be. So
you did a great job. I think that's the briefest intro to any kind of media we've ever done, so well done. So I wanted to start, Michael, Mel, by asking if either of you had an interest in the ancient world before you took these roles, or if this was kind of your first foray into it.
I was raised in Greece, so my majority of my educational years were there. So school, high school, all that. And there was always such an intense focus on the ancient worlds, whether that be through the text or the Odyssey or just myths, tragedies. There was always a lot of it around. It didn't necessarily feel like a compulsory thing, but it was, it was always in the stories that you heard told, the parables that you heard told. So it felt like I was constantly exposed to it, but I always was fascinated by it. So when the time came to do the game, it felt like a very smooth transition, if that makes sense. I remember in the first days when I was in Ubisoft offices, it was really cool because they showed us a map, like the first map that they'd kind of got and pieced together. I remember just kind of going, oh yeah, I know that place, and that's cool. Oh, do they have Delphi? Yes, they have Delphi. Do they have that theater? Yes, they have that theater. So it was really nice recognizing the bits and pieces that I already knew in a way.
I want to just back on that part just before I move on, because I like that element is so true. When we got to watch the first presentation, was like, I think it was just, they had the characters designed so they were running around in the world at that point. And so I was watching Alexios, and they just started inputting some of our my voice anyway, because Mel just had just arrived at that point. We were watching it, and I literally teared up because I was like, wow, like it was so cool. For me, the experience hit me very similar to Mel in that way, because Mel and I, we have such interesting histories of our own lives. We're both Greek Canadians. She's a Greek born in Canada who lives in Greece, and I'm a Greek born in Greece who lives in Canada. And so we had very similar but opposite like experiences with all of it. And I used to go back to Greece in the summers to visit my father growing up as a kid. So I had my experience of Greece in that way, and I would go every summer and spend time out there and go to different islands and see different ruins and experiences. And when I was older, I went, saw Delphi, went and climbed Mount Olympus, and I was really into just all the mythology and the lore. So when this game came and you got that moment of like going through these places and actually seeing what they look like, not just in a textbook or someone's illustration, or, you know, you're always having to really imagine what it would look like. Seeing it for the first time like that literally made me tear up, because I was just so impressed by the detail, for one, that they put into it. For growing up, I was exposed to it just similar to Mel. Like, it was always in the background and stories we would read, parables, tales. In my 20s, I really, really wanted to make a mythological movie. So I started delving into some more of the ancient Greek stories just to understand the history. And I started seeing that there's actually so many different versions of the same story and different elements of it all. And it just got me more and more interested in that world. And I've delved in many parts of the history and how they all try and influence each other from different parts. I love the ancient history. So this was right up my alley. When this game hit, I was like, this is exactly the type of project I would love to work on and be a part of. So yeah.
It sounds like, honestly, the game was made for the both of you. Do you feel like this really like personal, emotional connection to Greece, to the history, to the mythology, helped you in preparing for the roles?
I think it gave you an insight that, you know, if you weren't, say, Greek, you might not have hit the same way. I think it gave us like a perspective to look at it. And I think also understanding, because we're both, you know, we both understand America and we both understand Greece. I think as performers, we also needed to understand how to perform a project that was going to be received by a worldly market. Let's put it that way. And I mean that in many contexts, because you're playing to different cultures and you're trying to bring things out that will serve both, so that it hits right. Because how Greeks find things funny might not be how Americans find things funny. How, you know, so we're just we were really throwing things in there. We wanted it to be really Greek in ways, but it might not be understood the same way in American culture. So we talked about a lot of those things as we went through.
I find, just wanted to add, I agree with everything Michael said. And I just want to add that I find that sometimes the terrain it helps shape stories, and it's folklore tradition through songs and stories. It seems to make sense. So if it's a rough terrain, usually the stories can be just a bit darker or grimmer. Or if it's, slightly more, it's closer to the sea, then you have more sea-based monsters, fairies, folklore, et cetera, et cetera. So I feel that also in a way, knowing the terrain and knowing the country and having lived there, and, because I was raised in Nemea, which is Argos or Argolis, which is quite close to where Hercules apparently he killed the lion, et cetera, et cetera. So these are recognizable terrains, and Michael had climbed Olympus. It kind of, in a way, if you're in the areas where the majority of these stories take place, and if you know what they look like, it helps get a better feeling of the story, and it helps tell it better.
It absolutely does. And especially, I get the sense that if you're doing voice acting, it must be really beneficial to have that familiarity with the locations that your character is operating in, because then you get the feeling like you know the terrain you're navigating through, you know the stories that are linked to that. That sounds like it must have been really, really helpful.
Yeah, you can think about just the smell of Greece, the ocean, the breeze. And so like when we're doing things, like you can actually imagine it and feel it because your experience of just even jumping in the sea, what that is like. Yeah, just little things. Absolutely. And the sun. Yeah, just, I don't know. The little things that you can, when you're imagining your environment, it was quite easy.
It generally helps to know the environment that you're telling the story about. Because yes, you can imagine, but there's nothing really quite like having been there, experienced it, seen the culture, heard the language firsthand. There's just something that just strikes different if you've seen it with your own eyes, you know.
Well, I do want to pick up on the whole, you can imagine it, you can smell stuff, you can bring it to your mind's eye. Obviously, none of us lived back then when this was taking place, and modern Greece is wonderful, and there are things that I'm sure are the same, like the smell of the sea. Other things are different, like modern food. I'm sure they didn't have those smells.
Tzatziki's been around forever.
Okay, but made in the same way. Okay, just because I wanted to pick up on the smells part, to ask like a really weird question. I don't even know if you're ever gonna get a question like this doing a talk about AC Odyssey, but I'll go for it anyway. If there is a food or something, food, drink you wish you could have put in the game.
I'm sitting right here sipping my own little homemade Freddo. So I would probably have Kassandra on an IV drip with this thing. constant supply of caffeine. Just to make her, because she's just so relaxed. She's generally, I think she just needs a little bit more kick. She needs more of an edge. I think she's too chill.
Which is funny because I'm like, I can count the times, I think, on both hands where she has completely no chill. She's so intense. And you can tell the reaction of the other people around her are like, oh, okay, you're very intense about this. Cool.
Just, I think the amount of times people comment how intense she is, and just like the general reaction being like, what did I say? Why do you suddenly want to kill me? What is this?
Well, I feel like there's parts in the dialogue, though. She rings it up from like 0 to 10. And like, that's my favorite thing. I mean, I think early on, right, in even like the first 5 hours of the game, you like take her down to Thudis when you're like, okay, I'm going to get the money for Marcos or whatever, and he's just like, okay, let's start chill. This is what that weasel did. And she's just like, I'm in a very bad mood. So like, give me my money.
There's absolutely no chill. She goes 0 to 100.
Well, there's a reason people talk about her and describe her as like the ancient Greek Xena warrior princess with no chill. Like,
oh, is that what she's called? That's great though. So is Varnavas like my Gabrielle?
Oh my gosh, he totally is. Although the Xena warrior princess with no chill analogy only works when Cass is, your canon, my canon. If you play with Alexios, I don't really think you can say he's Xena warrior princess. Maybe you can.
Well, maybe on some level.
I've seen some people dress him in Xena the Warrior Princess outfits, which has been impressive.
There you go. That works. I was just saying that if in a universe where Kassexios is Xena the Warrior Princess, then Varnavas would be our Gabrielle.
Michael, the original question that I just asked Mel was if you could bring any modern or older food and drink with you into the world of Assassin's Creed Odyssey, what would it be? And Kassandra picked a little Freddo espresso.
I almost want to think of something like really American, a hamburger.
I can just imagine Alexios with a hamburger, just munching on it as he's watching some of these like. So he's just standing right on the ship, right, and he's just like, I'm just gonna watch this sea battle right here and munch on my hamburger. I just want both Alexios and Kassandra to like read modern recipes or just say the modern words of like food dishes that sound completely anachronistic. That's like my ASMR go to sleep playlist.
ASMR. We could totally do this as ASMR, Michael. I think this would really work.
I slowly lay down the pepperoni on top of the smooth and silky mozzarella. And then I roll out the dough and make the olive oil around the side.
Lexi, you have so much to answer for. And once again, we have gone into the realm of your bizarre fascination with voices.
I'm sorry. What can I say? You know what? My excuse is we have 2 world-class voice actors, so why not take advantage and get some of that like ASMR stuff in the headphones going?
To be fair, these are the guests to take that route with, so I forgive you. Are you hungry, by the way?
Maybe it's revealing that I will be hungry. I'm not sure.
What was your go-to food? Because you just went to Greece, right? What was your comfort thing? What was the thing you left the day you left? You thought, damn it! I wish I brought this with me.
Oh man. Okay, so my favorite like skewer souvlaki place in all of Athens is right behind the main building for the University of Athens. So, take the red line, right to Panepistimiou, you get off, you go just 1 block. It's right next to like the university bookstore, I think.
I know the corner one.
Yeah, Topro Dorpion, I think is what it's called. So they have the best skewer souvlaki, and every time I sit down and I just start eating it, I go, why can I not just have a bag of these every single place I go? And so first day I got there, I like sped there first thing. Last day before I left, I was there for hours. Yeah, that's my go-to. It's so stereotypical. I'm always a little hesitant to be like, yeah, that's what I dream of, because I'm like, oh, I should pick something interesting.
It's a really good and really healthy. Like if you think that it's like the fast food, then it's the Greek fast food. Then it's actually quite healthy. It's just, but I wouldn't do fries with it. I think that's just too much carb.
I would not do fries with it because that would just be sacrilege.
Yeah, that would be too much.
Traditionally, fries are not supposed to be there. Fries
know they're not supposed to be there, but it was an evolution of amazingness, and you can't just take that away.
Yes, you can. Like old school traditionalist souvlaki places do not serve it with fries.
No, you want to go back in time? Bring the French fries back to ancient souvlaki time, okay?
Wait, okay. I have to capitalize since we're on food. I'm sorry, Megan. We're just on food now. Okay. If you choose to reunite your family at the end, you get that great cut scene with the dinner, essentially, right? I'm like, wait, can we just craft what's on that dinner table?
I think we do like the Avengers scene, but you do it with souvlaki instead of shawarmas. Everyone just sitting there eating a souvlaki. Pita meiro, apola. Done.
I feel like everyone should get their individual one, but I feel like in keeping with the scene, we have like at least one hot dish that's kind of just sitting there steaming, looking delicious. It's got to be like a good pastitsio, moussaka, something. Oh God, I'm making myself so hungry. I should stop.
Do lamb.
Lamb would work time-wise as well in terms of the time period. It could also work quite well. I would throw in like a carafe of ouzo because it's usually the thing that makes everybody pissed off with each other. So I think it'll be the one that would work for that family reunion.
Are we having horiatiki there, or some other kind of leafy
absolutely.
Greens?
It's the sharing plate for sure. Some dolma we can do as well.
Oh yeah.
And just watermelon at the end. Watermelon, just be traditional. Just watermelon, just like slices of watermelon.
I would love it though if like someone was outside, like while they're finishing up, and you just hear someone yelling, "Carpone, carpone," and then they're like, "Oh, I'll be right back." And then
I'm sorry. I should let you get to your next question before I take over, because I could ask 10 more on that theme and you wouldn't want me to. So I will let you take the next one.
So I wanted to ask you both, you've both worked in games and in TV and movies with kind of a historical bent. Sandman is not super historical, but Calliope is still a mythological figure. So we're including that for the sake of argument. Do you think either games or like film, TV lends itself, is a better vehicle for introducing the ancient world to a broad audience, or do you think they both have merits?
I think they definitely both have merits. Look, not everyone plays games, and a lot more people watch movies. So I'm just going to say that for the people that watch film or series, you can cram quite a lot in an hour and a half or 5 hours, which is pretty much, I think, the duration of most series nowadays. Like for games, though, it's more immersive, I think, and especially for those that take the time and make the effort to make them accurate. It's incredibly educational because you can walk around, you can explore, you can exchange, you can do business, you can kind of live through your protagonist or through your character. And in that sense, it feels like you're there, which you never really get as an experience, or not at least to the same extent that you get through film. I think I would draw more of a parallel between games and books, because in a book, you feel like you can enter the world and be the protagonist as well. And if it's educational, it's educational. So it can teach you a lot of things about the world, the universe, et cetera, et cetera. But the game makes the image for you. It's more visually immersive.
Well, I think choosing your own adventure is like adds an element of like a novel, like you're talking about, where you make the choices. So whenever you make a mistake, it's like, well, that was on me. I chose that direction and that decision too. So it makes it more personal, like you said, rather than like an external experience where you're relating to someone. It's an internal experience that you're having, living through, like you said, the protagonist character, and you get to make choices as well. So it's like it's kind of like they're your avatar.
But I think that both film, in the sense that they offer it for you visually, which a book doesn't do. In a book, it's there in the words, but the image will be in your head. In terms of mediums that offer it visually, I think games are more educational, but they aren't that widely used yet. So in a sense that which one of the two is more useful for somebody, I would probably say games, but not everyone accesses them the same way.
That makes sense. And talking about the kind of immersive nature and the choose your own adventure side of the game, there are so many like additional side quests and rabbit holes that you can go down in AC Odyssey. As professionals, did you have to like keep track of where you were, like what was going on, or do you just kind of turn up and read the lines and hope that you've hit the right note?
Okay, well, I've told the story a few times about how scripts would show up, and we would get a script on a Thursday or Friday, and they'd be anywhere from 150 to 250 were average, sometimes 350, sometimes 500, and one times 900 pages. And we would have to read them by Monday, basically, and start recording. I guess they were written somewhat in order, but when we were recording them, they weren't in order. So things could be, you've done a choice and then all of a sudden you're way over here, and then like you're doing something over here, and then you're back over here, and trying to keep a straight line was really, really challenging, especially because you have to pump out so many lines within 2 hours every day, and you only get an opportunity to basically read the script. So I'd be on the metro reading, like, okay, I just need to get through this so I understand what's happening before I even get to the booth. I'd be reading the scripts every day, all week before I arrive, like in the day. So that's about all the homework we would even get sometimes. And you kind of got an idea. Thankfully, I got a rhythm to it, which was helpful to get the feeling of the story. But to keep it intact in your mind while recording was an obstacle, to say the least. I don't know, Mel, your experience on that, but
I mean, I would just basically kind of say the same thing that you've just said. I mean, I don't really have that much more to say. I gave up after a while. I mean, I couldn't really follow, and because you get it, but you'd start out on a Monday, and you'd have 3 options, and you'd go down option 1 on Monday, and you get to branch 4D, and then just carry on, and then on you do Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, you'd kind of go down the second, the third, the fourth branch. And then on Friday, you go back to the first branch, but the third option, and then the fourth under that. And then it was just like, I've lost it. I don't know where I am anymore. I know kind of that I'm in this part of the game and that I'm in this location and that this is my end objective, but I've kind of lost the plot in the medium.
That sounds really hard to keep track of.
yeah, it was.
And it's difficult as well because you have different interactions with different characters, and you want every interaction with every different character that you meet along the way to be different and to have a different quality and to kind of show a different side of your character, which is usually manifested by if you talk to somebody different, the player gets an idea of different sides of your character depending on who you're talking to. So it is a great opportunity to expand your character that way, but it's just sometimes difficult to grasp who it is that you're talking to when you're down so many branches, if you will, or you just kind of keep track of what the character's mental state is at the time. It's kind of difficult to keep track of the emotional state throughout all this.
It was helpful also when we had recording of other people had pre-recorded before us. That was really helpful. So sometimes if they recorded before us, we could listen to how they were saying the lines so we could have something to respond to, which made it a lot easier to kind of keep at least a flow of what someone else had done and making sure we're in a similar conversation. And yeah, we had a very different experience, Mel and I, because we were recording in two different parts of the world with two different directors doing two different things. They could have done things differently for sure to make the experience and a lot more user friendly for all of us as actors, and a lot more conversational because you're actually interacting somehow with one another would have been more valuable, especially scenes where her and I could have been doing Demos and Kassandra or reverse. We never got to do together, and it was, to me, disappointing.
I've got one more question down this track, and then I'm going to let Lexi take over, possibly with more food questions. Who knows? When you're recording so many different tracks and responding to so many different characters and situations, how difficult is it to try and keep your character consistent across the board?
In what context?
If you're thinking about maybe the emotional response a character might have to a specific situation, if the situation changes each time based on the way the story is going, how do you work out, does your emotional response change? Is it nuanced at all? Or do you just kind of just try and do your best and go with it?
For me, they kind of gave you like little hashtags, their little parentheticals above, and it would tell you sort of what they were looking for, or it would say this is like the altruistic approach, or this is the angry approach, or this is, and so when we were going down these chains, it would kind of be like, and you're trying to make your best with like, okay, if I can't remember, some of the ones were just really funny, and it was like, oh, how do I do this without sounding ridiculous, boastful or whatever, and he'd be sympathetic, and so they're very different approaches to the same moment, and how do you do those authentically each time? It was fast. It was just like, okay, go for this, and you just have to like, oh, well, I don't believe in that, and be like, okay, well, that sort of works. Or, oh, I totally understand. Okay, now I can hear you. Like it was just some work, some actually didn't necessarily work, but that was a choice you had to go with because you're making those different choices.
I found the parentheticals so confusing sometimes because they were just not confusing, but I think that they make it very specific, whereas it's not really, it could be more open to interpretation. And I completely understand why they were there, because otherwise it gets very chaotic.
It's also AI. The body movements are attached to those hashtags. So like they're animating to that hashtag. So the body movement's going to do something as well that's in alignment with it.
I found it easier when characters that you met not very often, because, so for example, with all the demo scenes, it was easier to maintain an emotional arc because there were clear moments in time where this had happened, and now this is the next time we meet. And it was very easy to have an emotional arc. When I met characters whose purpose was to facilitate a quest, things were slightly harder because the frequency with which you met them kind of muddled everything up. And also because their purpose was, they didn't serve any kind of emotional growth, they serve the player. So for those, it was slightly harder for me to kind of map out the character arc, or how Kassandra felt, or how that built up, or how that escalated or de-escalated.
I mean, I would say I have some privileged game dev knowledge just in talking to Mel McCubry, who was a narrative director on the game, and my friend Betty Robertson, who did some of the writing for a couple quests, I think, in Sparta. I've asked them several times to talk me through how they go through having to write this stuff for you guys. And I think both of them said at certain times, like, it's crazy for them too, because they're writing and trying to edit and change things right up until essentially they print it and give it to you. But along that line, I do want to go for it and just...
I love the writing team. I just want to cut in on that. The writing team on that was awesome.
Yeah, they're such awesome people. I do love them as well. Yeah, I mean, well, kind of going along with the quest theme. So I mentioned my friend Betty. She wrote the Trojan horse quest line in Sparta, where you find the horse randomly when you sort of get drunk on the beach and then pass out and then wake up, and there's a Trojan horse that you have to kind of destroy with Athenians coming out of it, which was hilarious. I think I've mentioned to both of you at different times, like, yeah, there's other great mythological inserts for quests. You have the Oedipus one, that's fantastic. There's a couple others that I know I'm not thinking of right now that are hidden in there
Mel's trying to remember the Oedipus one, where the parents, he sleeps with the parents. Is that what it was? Something like that?
Yeah, it's the Supidio.
I know the play, but I don't remember actually meeting Oedipus.
Yeah, it was like Oedipus because it's the Supidio storyline. Yeah, where he's like locked himself in the cage and he's like, you have to help me. He's like, I need to save Mater and Pater. Yeah. So you do the quests. And
what was it? I can't even remember it. Like, Mater to slap with Pater. It was some funny thing. It was hilarious in the end. He's like, no.
Yeah, he's scarred because essentially he was just like, there's thieves and my parents need to protect me. So he's like, you need to go get the sword and the shield. And so you end up sort of getting the sword from the like blacksmith, and the shield was stolen by like a quote unquote bandit in a cave. So you like kill one, and then you sleep with the blacksmith, and then he freaks out because he's like, his parents didn't tell them he was adopted, and he's like, those were your parents. And there's like great hidden mythological quest lines in there. So one thing that I'd love for you to tell us is if you could insert your own quest line based on a myth that is not present in the game already, what would it be?
Do we have the Golden Fleece?
Well, there's pieces of armor named after it, and like you vaguely like before you face the Minotaur, technically there's like a quest line where they're like, you have to wear like Jason's armor, and so you kind of go around collecting them, but like it serves no actual purpose. It doesn't actually help you, so it's not integrated. I think it's just there to like have the name and be like, oh, that's cool.
I mean, the actual quest to get the Golden Fleece would be quite a cool one.
It'd be cool to get like some of the gods' kind of weapons, like the helmet of invisibility or something like that, or the apples of Atlas. Like you have to go to see Atlas holding the world. I don't know. Something would be kind of cool.
Save Prometheus, or you could make Icarus's wings work. Go to the underworld, bring back Icarus from the underworld, and you create functional wings that don't melt.
And then you can fly with Icarus.
Do you remember when when they were developing the game, when they're like, we can't allow this in the game, but it would be so option if they did, that you could fly around like this. You could fly around like this as Alexios or Kassandra, and you could pick up off the ground, and you could fly around with your arms like this, and you could literally fly from one area to the other because it would save so much time. It was the funniest, best thing ever. And I was like, you guys should totally have this as a secret option in the game somewhere.
I feel cheated that it's not there. That would be amazing.
That's not fair. I want to do that.
I do mean Icarus, the mythical person, not the bird, yeah?
Yeah. But like you use him to get wings so then you can fly with your bird.
I didn't want anyone thinking I was just kind of trying to fix the broken bird or something.
At first I was confused when he first said it, but then I was like, oh, I know what you mean.
No, it'd be so cool though. You make a whole quest line where like you talk to Daedalus, right? And then you're like, okay, Daedalus, let's like do some stuff. And then, you could like sneak Perdix in there.
Teach you stuff because, he was like the Da Vinci of the time. So you can get Daedalus's skills and get him to teach you stuff. And then you go into the underworld and then you have to craft something and then.
Where's the flies? He has to create wings so he can fly to somewhere because he can't reach it otherwise. And then, so he has to help him develop something to help him get there.
I can already imagine trying to make this work gameplay wise might be a bit of a nightmare. I mean, we had the wings of Hermes, right? In like the I think those were the sort of teleportation elevators or whatever. So I don't know how you would do that with gameplay, but the quest line itself sounds great, and I would pay for someone to do something like that for sure.
Or DLC. There we go.
Yes, give us another one. Like, we had 6, but I'll take a 7th. Why not?
Do we have 6? I only think of it as like 2 because they're just 6 chapters.
Oh, right. Well, it's because they spread out the release, right? They didn't just release.
There's chapter 1, 2, 3 of that one, and then chapter 1, 2, 3 of the other one.
So I do think of it as 6 because it was 6 different releases. But maybe I should just condense.
If there's only 2, I mean, that's perfectly reasonable to ask for another one, I feel.
There was supposed to be a 3rd.
I feel cheated again. Well, sticking on this fun theme of picking out completely random things and like inserting ourselves into this game that has already been pre-built. Look, I love how they brought the world to life. You both know this. I spend a great deal of my time talking about how beautiful it is. But each island, each territory has a very specific, unique feel, a very distinct look. If you could go back, in your little safe time machine, right? What territory would you go back to? And why? Because they're all very different.
I'd like to go see the Minoan Empire. I'd like to see how they function, how they created all the waterways, how they traded, because they were the peak to me of civilization back then, between trade in Egypt and all over, and the whole functioning systems, like they're running water systems through the mountains, how they built the architecture, natural air conditioning through the building. I'm floored with that culture of that time.
So what you're telling me is every time that I walk Alexios through Knossos in the game, I should just imagine you instead walking so that you're like, Minoan stuff.
And I don't know if you guys have seen, but like, because the running of the bull, and you'd have to jump over it, and like and if you died, it was like, well, too bad.
But this is considered to be the predecessor of the matador in Spain.
Yeah, and if you've watched recently, there's matadors. The guys are doing it. They're literally flipping over the bulls, and I was just like, no way, they're doing it now. I was like, this is so awesome. So you can actually see the feat in modern times.
It's amazing. Are you kidding? Like, if I could have like a full printed up, wall-sized print of the Bull Leaper fresco just in my house, I would. I mean, people would kind of come in and be like, well, what the hell is this? But I'd have it, like have that on one wall, and then on the opposite wall have like a blown up photo of like the Festus disc and like some other weird stuff.
Ooh, okay. I have 3 things I want. So one would be, I would like to actually see the medical center / spa that they built outside of Epidaurus. I want to actually outside the Epidaurus theater, but in the Epidaurus region. I'd like to see what that actually included. I'm very curious.
Can I see a play while we're there?
Well, apparently, like the whole area was like a resort. So in the sense that you feed your soul and your body. So you feed your soul when you watch the play, and then you feed your body by going to this place like right next to it, where it acted like it's like a healing center, wasn't it? Wasn't it the first?
They probably like fumigated the entire crowd as you're about to watch a play with the most potent drugs. And then you'd be like, oh my God, this is the best show I've ever seen.
There's so many things I want to see. Okay, so that's 1. 2, I want to actually see what Troy looked like, because I've read so much about it, and it's been the center of so many stories and myths, and the Iliad and the Odyssey, and I'm just very curious what all the fuss was about. 3, I would like to see the Antikythera mechanism and see what that actually was used for and why they built it. Oh, I'd love to see, Michael, I need to send you, there's a really cool podcast on this. There's an area that is it's been rediscovered, and not in the sense that we didn't know where it was, in the sense that it's been rebranded. Let's put it that way. It's been rebranded. It's just outside Athens. It's called Elefsina, and it used to be the spiritual capital. So the mysteries, the Elysian mysteries, I think, would take place there. And there's a road that connects, it still exists, this road. It's called Ieraudos. I'm sure Lexi would have seen it in Athens, which literally means like the sacred avenue. And it would connect Athens to this city, and they would walk it. And then they would have festivals there lasting for 4 days, which I don't know what happened in those festivals, but I'd be very curious to find out, because apparently everybody returned very enlightened.
Drugs. And more drugs.
I like Michael's version, but I will say that I do know several colleagues who work on Elefsina specifically because they are so into the cult. And like, I've got a friend who like does archaeological work looking at like the Telesarian that's there at the site. So I'm just saying I could get us real answers if you want real answers. But I was like, Michael's version is great too.
Well, I just know because I've been studying some of that, and I'm like, the only reason I'm saying that is because I think there is truth to it.
Of course there is. The podcast says that that's exactly what they did, but like genuinely, they says no, but like apparently they do no, but Elefsina. So there was like even what Pythia would like. She would chew on leaves. Yeah. Okay. Duh.
It's medicinal. It's medicinal.
But that's the original medical system. It's not a negative thing to look at it. This was how the medical thing was started. Like it was all from nature, and we were learning in these.
Absolutely. But I think that they went even above and beyond that. There was the bit that they knew was good for you in the sense that it was medicinal, and then there was the bit that was there for spiritual purposes. So they even had the distinction between that which is the medicinal in the sense that I'm going to cure you from gangrene, and B, I'm going to.
You're going on a mystery. The mysteries are gonna be revealed.
Look, man, I'm sure there's a bunch of like pomegranates somewhere, right? Because technically that site at Elefsina is where, in the mythology, Hades comes up and kidnaps Persephone and brings her down to the underworld. The Telesarian kind of is where that all happens, which is why obviously you have the cult of Demeter there. You know what? I'm mad because I was at that site not too long ago. I should have just brought with me like a bowl of pomegranates and said, okay, let me just walk around with my pomegranates, eat one at every stop, see what happens, just in case something might happen. Oh man. All right. Well, that's things to do for next time I'm in Greece. Just walk around with a bunch of these things and say, okay, something gonna happen here. Although I will say one thing that
Don't forget to bring a big bowl with you.
yeah, obviously. I mean, if it's not big enough, it's not gonna count, right? No, well, one thing that I didn't even think to look at because I was studying there for 2 years. I didn't have access to my games. I hadn't played it in so long. But when I went back in September, I was walking around. I was at the theater there at Pitavros again, and I was just walking around the site. I was kind of walking toward the stadion there. There was a Herm statue, and I said, "You know what? I think this is like in the same place that they put it in the game." And I was like, let me Google that real quick. So I went home and I walked around the site and I said, oh, it's in the same place in the game as in real life. So then I took a bunch of pictures of it, sent it to all my friends, and I was like, guys, the Herm, it's like real. It's in front of me. But I was like, I'm standing exactly where the character of the game would stand, and there's a Herm right there. Yeah, I was like,
yeah, some of the stuff in that game is incredible. Like some of it's just mind blowing that they actually put that much detail in, and it's really kudos to them for taking that time. That it can be an educational tool like that, and something that they tried to replicate. I think they did a phenomenal job on that.
So I think, as I mentioned to both of you at different times, this has fast become probably one of the most, if not the most, heavily studied game in the entire field of classics and reception, which is incredible. I mean, it feels like every conference, every publication, there's someone who did something with Assassin's Creed Odyssey, or it's mentioned in every publication ever. And so obviously we kind of know what audiences are playing the game or at least watching it. So I feel like as actors, you kind of have an understanding of who is watching the work you've done. Now, for the academic audience, because it is such an interesting, fast changing kind of landscape for how we look at the game and what questions may develop, knowing that there's a whole market now of like serious academics who are obsessed with this game. Would you guys ever consider, I don't know, like showing up instead of like at a normal con, like academic conference and talking about it to a room of academics? Or do you feel that like, oh, that's kind of intimidating? I don't know what I'd have to say.
Yeah, I would go to that. Yeah, it'd be great.
I'd love to. I mean, I don't know if I would like be able to like provide a lot of data, but I would just show up for the cool conversations. For sure. I mean, I don't know necessarily what I could contribute,
but I'd love to hear how other people are influenced, and that'd be great.
Just there for the conversation, for 100%. I think it'd be very interesting. Do you have anything in mind?
Actually, I do. I'm trying to organize a panel.
I was going to say, I feel like Lexi is forming plans as we speak.
Someone organize a Greek theater show at the same time so we can all watch it.
Honestly, I will say one of my biggest desires in life is to stage a reading of some kind of, Greek comedy, tragedy, something, and bring in, again, like professional actors to read it for academics. Because look, we're always playing around. We're into experimental archaeology. If I'm saying I want to stage, Medea, can I get some Greek actors to come read Medea? Like, let's do this. That's what I want to do. But yeah, no, actually, I am trying to organize a panel and reception in archaeogaming for the Society for Classical Studies in 2026. We're going to see if I can meet all my deadlines. It might be pushed back by an extra year, depending on what happens with my timeline. But yes, it is an idea that I've started looking at and trying to figure out how I could maybe incorporate people on the game dev and acting side, because I think it would offer a really very untouched, underexplored perspective. Yeah.
Call me. I'm there.
Call us, please.
For sure. I will happily do so. I mean, any excuse to see my friends. I mean, let's do it, man.
Well, I also want to bring classics back because they all have such deep deep, rich stories, and we have limited the amount of beautiful stories in our modern society that are full of richness and symbolism and meaning. It'd be nice to start enriching those things. Need to be brought back into the culture.
And the originals. I mean, I know we water down everything for like kids and stuff. I saw a copy of Daudelaire's Greek Myths.
That's fine. There's a reason nobody wants to see kids poking their eyes out. And
yeah, I mean, it's so interesting because I mean, I was visiting the Getty the other day, seeing one of their new special collections, and in the museum I saw there was like a copy of Daudelaire's Greek Myths. I hadn't seen that since I was like 10, so I bought the book. It's sitting on my coffee table right over there. I started reading it again, and like it was this big, heavy dose of nostalgia, but at the same time, I was like, this is so watered down, because like a lot of the stuff where I know that is not what happens, they're like, oh yes, and he just
it's the whole Anderson and Grimm version, versus the Disney version of those stories. No, the Little Mermaid died.
And it's good because it's not meant for kids.
And when people talk about like the original Cinderella, they're like, oh yeah, she like cut off her toes to fit in the shoes. I don't think you want kids to know that. And you're like, oh yeah, maybe not.
I didn't know that either. That's crazy. No, I mean, I know like the Little Mermaid, she dies.
She dies, yeah, or the mom cuts off the heel, or kind of saws off the heel off one sister and then cuts off the toes on the other sister to kind of get
I need a staged version of Assassin's Creed Odyssey, but the musical. We're going to create songs. Cass is going to sing. Alexios is going to sing. Barnabas is going to say, I need a musical version of this game like right now. And I need you to help me build that.
Oh, that'd be funny. Now, one funny thing, like when we had to sing in the game, and when we were starting, this was like the early days. I remember I was like, I have to sing. I can't sing this good because he wouldn't be able to sing good. There's no way. So it was really funny because I sing. So it was funny to be like, I have to sing this really bad. And it's a lot harder to sing bad.
Yeah, because you have to like train yourself into bad habits.
Just like, it was so easy for me to sing bad.
When you
Mel's like, I'm a pro, dude. Just take notes.
Just make it up and just try and be really off key and really bad. But it was funny. But yes, an Odyssey musical.
Okay, I know we will cast you for the live action, hopefully, but like it's okay if you don't want to sing. But I'm also like, I need a live action.
When were we singing? I don't remember singing for this game.
Oh, we sang in one part earlier, first quarter of the game. So.
I mean, is it true singing or was it when you were like humming? Yeah. Like,
no. It was like, we'll go to war. Like it was like a whole big like song you just had to make up. You don't remember that?
I'm so grateful to my brain's coping mechanism. It just deleted it.
I'll see if I can find it. I'll send it.
I was like, wait, is this like an alternate unreleased ending? I mean, look, The Last of Us did that. They had a musical ending and then cut it completely so we could only like hear about it through interviews. So I'm like, is this what's happening? Was there a secret ending?
No, it was like a drunk bar. It was like a drunk bar time, and then they're like, sing a song.
Oh, the drunk bar time.
I'm impressed you remember it then. It's like drunk bar. I'd be surprised if anyone remembered anything from the drunk bar. I will get my like Kassandra, some sort of ASMR thing, whether it's reading recipes or musical version or something. Like I'm pushing for this, man. Like I need this, and I feel like a lot of people would want that as well.
I give it 2 weeks before Lexi has you both recording an ASMR podcast where you just read Greek recipes.
I think this would be great. So as you're reading it and kind of doing a video of it, you just genuinely get very, very annoyed. Which I know for sure this is what Kassandra would do. It just like the 0 to 100 scale of rage would kick in.
Well, in this fantasy, then, since Michael already has the market on like cooking videos, what if we just said Vimos, after he was saved, picked up cooking as his rehab? So he's telling Kassandra that he's cooking now, reading these recipes, and since she's like, I've been saving the world, I don't have time to fucking cook, she's just getting angry when he's like, you're not doing it right, no, you have to put it this way or I'm gonna punch you, like something.
I don't care about the potatoes,
you forgot the lemon,
you can take it and shove it down your throat.
Yeah, give me not even, I don't even need 2 weeks, Megan, like give me a week and I will find something fantastic and I'll be like, I've got this right.
This is very niche. Like, I know that Reading Party is niche, but I feel like this is a step further in niche podcasting. There's an audience. There's an audience for everything. People would love it.
People would love it. I mean, people are always requesting cooking videos from Michael anyway. So I'm like, just make it Demos and then have Cass like react to it in her characteristic, impatient, 0 to 100 Xena way. And people would be like, yes, give us more of this. You know, make it a whole like mini series. It'll be perfect. Like cooking with the siblings or something.
Add 1 teaspoon of sugar. Not tablespoon, that's a teaspoon.
So I'm like, yes. So recipes read by Demos, and then Kassandra could react, and then we could have, I don't know, what could Cass read that's super like not on brand for her?
Terms and conditions.
Manual to building a boat.
Yeah, just something so random. What will we show up to hear her read? That is completely not Kassandra. Megan, we can work on this. We can find something amazing. We could do it.
IKEA furniture assembling manual.
Oh my god! And then have Cass get like so upset when the thing doesn't work because it's IKEA, and then she's like threatening to like take her sword and just destroy the whole thing because it won't like stay put.
I feel like if that's the direction we went, I feel like every video would end or podcast would end with like violent smashing.
So it's like so calming until the very end. You wake everyone back.
That's perfect. That's the ASMR. Oh my god! No, you time it at a length where it would take you from if you went to sleep at like a reasonable hour, and so then. For 8 a.m., 7 a.m., like you just
for a nap. It's like a power nap.
Yeah, it's like a 30-40 minute nap. You're awoken just with violence.
And then that's your alarm. So you don't need to like set an alarm because the loudness will be your alarm to wake up.
You heard it here first.
You heard it here first. This is the type of thing that Lexi will be working on.
We're gonna copyright this.
Exactly. And then Lexi and Megan will work on facilitating it, and it'll be a very fun series. All right, Megan, I'm sorry I took us on a lot of tangents today.
I want to know what Inanna is.
Yes. So goddess of love, warfare when she's Ishtar. If you're going with the earlier version, she's like pre-wedding kind of fertility. Well, I don't like calling her fertility or goddess because then people say that Ishtar's a fertility goddess and she's absolutely not. And then they try and make Easter into Ishtar. It's no, all kinds of no.
Good. That's a big clarity because right now I do see that actually being perpetuated. It's like Easter comes from Ishtar, comes from this. So like if it's not, that's a really good clarification.
No, it's nothing to do with her. Ishtar doesn't do. She does the sex side of stuff. She doesn't do the childbirth and procreation side of things. That's someone else's job. So she's more like goddess of warfare and sexual desire rather than fertility.
Aphrodite?
Yeah, very similar.
You're Venus, I guess, then. So no.
And so that's who Inanna is. Yeah,
so Inanna is kind of the earlier iteration of the goddess, and she starts out as the grain, like a full grain house is seen as one of her things. And you get a lot of quite explicit love poetry about her, but it's kind of framed as pre-wedding rather than procreation.
What I love about the old languages and old cultures is they're very specific. Like ancient Greek is very specific in what thing it means when it's trying to get at something. So like you're saying she's this, but I mean it in exactly this way. Like it's pre-wedding. So you know exactly the time what she represents in that way. Anyway, continue. Sorry, I just find that.
I mean, honestly, that's about it. It's really interesting because you get her husband Dumuzi being called her bridegroom, but they never actually they don't have children. They don't ever really live together. Most of the literature about them is like this courtship, and then her getting him banished to the netherworld. Well, she goes down to the netherworld to possibly try and take it over. It's a bit confusing. And then she's allowed back up again, provided she finds a substitute for herself. And some demons have dressed Dumuzi up in like celebratory robes, and he's playing his flute, and he's got these like handmade people around him. And she gets like super pissed that he's not in mourning for the fact that she's dead because she's gone to the underworld. So she's like, okay, he can go. So they drag him down to the underworld, and it's similar to the Persephone myth in that he switches out half the year with his sister. So he's down in the underworld for 6 months, and then he comes back up again.
And that would represent also the seasons, I guess.
I swear we need more Assyriology stories.
Mesopotamia? What is this?
It's ancient Iraq.
Assyria. Assyrian.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much cool stuff. I mean, I think honestly though, I haven't seen like great, super in depth, like games or anything yet, really that show these accurately. Although I will say, as soon as House of Ashes came out, I like ran to Megan and I was like, Megan, there's real cuneiform in this game. There's real lamassus. There's real like all of this stuff. You gotta check this out.
It's the only one I can think of, and you don't get a lot of like literary adaptations either. There are a couple. So the third one's coming out next year. It's a fascinating mix of, so the author is a science journalist who does fiction as well, and her mother was an archaeologist. But it's a fascinating mix of like the mythology, but also a little sprinkling of science fiction, which I really enjoy because I'm a massive science fiction nerd. They're great books, and she's taken a selection of quite disparate myths and woven them together in a really interesting way, and it hangs together as a world really, really nicely. But you just don't get this kind of stuff for Mesopotamia so often. This is the first stuff that I've really seen come out, and it looks like there's more stuff coming, which is nice. But Mesopotamia people don't have the same like cultural memory of it that we have for Greek mythology. It's not referenced in the same way. So
do you think that it's because a lot of destruction of the ancient culture over there that they haven't perpetuated, or because of the religious, like, what would your thoughts on that be? Just a quick one of like, why is it not? Is there enough reference material, or is there like, what reason would it be? I mean, I do know that modern religion has in every culture, whether it's Islam, Judaism, Christianity, they all kind of don't want you going further back. It's happening in Greece right now because they're I think, was that you, Lexi, telling me someone was telling me that there's a revival of the ancient Greek god pantheon worshiping, like, starting again, and the Orthodox Church is really not happy about this.
I don't know if I told you that, but I have been tracking the kind of movement of what's going on in Greece, just like very interested in like what on earth is happening down there. But also, Megan, can I just say, add in as well that I feel like the answer is pretty simple, right? Even up to like the names are hard, so people are like, I don't want to deal with that because the names are so hard to just,
so
like,
I think there is some of that, but if you think about it, Persephone is not like, it doesn't roll off the English speaking tongue super well. I'm English, I did classics at A level, I did classics through university, and that whole mythological culture is very much ingrained in the Western world, so we're just more familiar with them. I don't think it's that the names are hard. I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that cuneiform wasn't deciphered until the 1800s. So we don't, with Greek mythology, we have like such a long tradition of it being taught in schools and it being seen as the birthplace of like the Western democratic system. There's seen to be this like unbroken chain. Mesopotamia.
Sorry, isn't that not because I think that the reason that I knew, at least in why ancient Greek and mythology and part of that civilization was kind of transferred and lasted through the Western civilization, is because it was adopted through the Romans. So the minute we got the Roman occupation in Greece, then there was an absorption of the language, the myths, the texts, the books, and everything, and incorporation within their own Latin books. So it was easier then, since Greek was absorbed into the Latin educational system, then Latin kind of through the Roman Empire spread throughout Europe, then it was just a lot easier to do that. Whereas the same didn't really apply further east.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of what happened in the East is that Mesopotamia, like native Mesopotamian rule, was over when like I think Alexander the Great came through and then the Romans came through. But once people started writing alphabetic scripts on parchment, cuneiform died out because it's developed specifically to be impressed into clay. It's quite difficult to write with a pen and paper. It just is very unnatural. So people started using the alphabetic script, and the old languages kind of died out, and then the old myths weren't really being told anymore because they were just written in cuneiform. So then it kind of goes quiet. No one really remembers. No one in the West is terribly interested in going and like talking to the people living in those areas to find out about their own folklore. So you don't have it reintroduced into Western culture until it's finally retranslated. And then, interestingly, what you said about religion, the reason it starts to get a foothold is because someone called George Smith finds a cuneiform tablet in the British Museum that has a flood narrative on it. So then they went back out and amazingly found the other half of the tablet, and the odds of that are just ridiculous. But that kind of has started it as a field of academic study in its own right. So I think it's simply that we're just several hundred, couple of thousand maybe years behind where Greek classics.
But it doesn't help that all our programs are getting defunded, so it's like it's an uphill climb, because it's like we there's not enough places that you can study.
Yeah, it's like we're being limited from going back further. It's like it's like, well, we want to go, but it's like no, it's okay, keep it here.
That's why like the work Megan does is so important, because like public scholarship is really filling in the gap for where like official places just can't do that.
Do you ever wonder if it's a threat though? Like if say like there's flood narrative that predates in writing and predates in a whole narrative, and say that flood narrative has a bunch of other players in it that don't comport to the modern narrative, well then that has to raise questions, and those questions might not be very happily raised by a lot of people.
It definitely, several Mesopotamian myths make certain branches of fundamentalist Christianity very uncomfortable, because you're right, it predates it by hundreds of years, and it's similar enough that if you're being honest, you can see a line of transmission, but it's different enough that it's like you can't make the argument that the Bible is historically factual anymore.
Yeah, and it could have factual elements in the Bible, but it could be a reinterpretation of an older texts. Like the books of Revelation seem to come from the Sibylline oracles, which seem to come from an older text as well. So you're like, there's something that we could all look into. It's like, that's what I've found anyway.
I mean, Megan, there's like what's that meme that you fixed about that comes out around Passover?
The Easter Ishtar. There's a meme that goes around saying, oh God, I don't remember. This is Ishtar, also pronounced Easter. And it's a whole like, and I went through in like 2019 and like struck out,
like redlined it,
a bunch of stuff in red lines and wrote corrections in it and it goes around Twitter and Instagram every Easter.
And it caught fire, so now it goes, every Easter it goes around the internet like wildfire.
Yeah, I've seen it last year, so I was wondering. So that's really great to know.
Well, Megan, I'm gonna plug your channel then, and I'll send it through the chat, because this is Megan's channel that she does. And it's like a double team of awesome, because her awesome husband is also an Assyriologist. So two Assyriologists together in the same house is a lot of Assyriology. Their channel's amazing. They always do fun things. They do like cool live streams and stuff.
Haven't done one in a while, actually. We need to do that.
You haven't done one in a while. You should do another. The guy you got from like Helsinki to do the ancient immigration one was so cool.
Tero, he was cool, yeah.
He's such a cool dude.
We have so one of his colleagues works on women in Assyria. She's going to come on in February probably and do a live stream. And then there was an article about the Mask of Tutankhamun. They think maybe it wasn't originally made for him, so I'm going to try and get the archaeologist responsible for that.
Well, I was going to say, because that actually goes along with Kara's new book. You saw her new book that came out, right? It's like the first major book that has like over 200 beautifully printed, formatted coffin photos in it. It's massive. It'll only be printed once, so we were all scared into getting a copy before it goes out of print forever, because it's so massive. But it's like now the new world authority on coffin reuse, which I think is really awesome.
So people would reuse coffins, is what you're saying?
Oh yeah, recycling for death. I'm gonna have to get that.
Recycling for death.
So all my friends here at UCLA worked on it. I'm very proud of them. I went because I found there was like a discounted set of flights from Athens. And so I flew from Athens to Cairo for legitimately like $100. It was so cheap.
It's really cheap. Yeah, I can check actually now how much it would cost. I don't think it's that expensive at all.
We should plan a trip, Mel. We should definitely go.
Thing is, I think you need to go to the Valley of the Kings, Valley of the Queens. You need to go all the down Luxor. You need to, I think that's kind of really worth it. So it's not just Cairo.
All the places.
I just want to go to the Great pyramids so bad.
Oh yeah. No, you do. Absolutely. Highly
A
recommend.
friend was showing me recently. I don't know if it's in the Valley of the Kings or Queens. I think they said further south. I hope I'm right. That there's a valley and temples dedicated to the first approach, I think, at astrology.
Are we talking about like the Temple of Million Years down at Abu Simbel?
Could be. I don't really know. I hadn't heard of it up until like about a week ago. So where apparently they have a dedicated space where you can star bathe. So there's like a healing spot where you kind of sit under the stars, like within the temple, and there is a massive chunk of obsidian missing. I think it's in the British Museum, with like a disc with. Oh yeah, I think it's a disc with their version of the zodiac signs. But I thought it was interesting because I didn't know that that's where they originated. I had no idea.
Yeah, I have to figure out. I can ask around. God knows, I work with like 12,000 Egyptologists. They could probably tell me. But yeah, I got to figure that out because that sounds really cool. I was only able to go to the north. So I went to Alex and I went to Cairo, but I could not go further south. But I do want to go down to like Elephantine or I suppose modern Aswan, Abu Simbel, obviously.
Aswan, yeah. Aswan, I'd really like to go to.
Yeah. And then obviously Luxor, gorgeous. I still have Egyptian money in my wallet. It's very funny. When I went, the exchange rate was outrageous. It was like 43-1 or something.
Thank you both so much for doing this. It was really fun.
Yeah, it was a blast.
Thank you so much for having it. Great.
I'm sorry if some of my questions were like super basic. I never talk to actors. I only ever talk to academics. So I have no idea how this whole voice acting thing works. So I appreciate your patience with me.
It's okay. That's why you have me, Megan. I balance this out. It's fine. And then I get the weird, like super nitty gritty questions that people are like, how do you think these up?
No, I think it's important to also people understand actors' perspectives too sometimes because, I think we sometimes get a bad rap on not being very smart. We just puppets for directors to tell us what to do. And I'm not saying I'm super smart, but what I'm saying is that like it's good to get insight into the thought process and what is involved with acting sometimes. Like there can be a lot of thought going behind it and homework and intention and reasons we do things. And I think there is some value of understanding in there, especially in contexts like these, because there's a lot of details and thought put into the characters themselves and who they are and what world they're in, and why did they act this way? Why did you choose these things? What was the reasoning? And they might be thought out, for us, and people might not understand it. Like an example, just so you get it, is like I wanted to make Alexios not very let's say more brutish off the top, not as like eloquent or grounded, and he's brash and harsh. Like you said Xena, I say Conan, something, because he's left home at 6-8 years old, and he's now in harsh reality till he's an adult. So it's like this journey is becoming more and more nuanced as he grows. So you start with him, he's a bit of a very harsh and rough off the top, which you might not like, but eventually he gets more and more subtle and nuanced as he goes, and he develops and he heals or goes through his journey and his story with his family. So it's like little things that people are like, well, I don't like that, but there's a reason why we did it. I was actually trying to honor the time and the things and the periods and how to make it come across that way that would work. So it's not just like I'm making a character for a video game. We're trying to make a character of the time.
Yeah. I mean, well, it translates well because obviously people love Alexios or the most, depending on who they play.
Well, I mean, he's canon regardless. It doesn't matter. So it's all good.
Oh man, I'm gonna get a shirt made saying Cass is my canon, but it's fine. Before you pop off, I do want to ask the standard. Can you just spout off where people can find you on the socials and the stuff to follow what you're doing?
I'm on Instagram, and you can find me Michael Antonakos, and I think it's Mike Antonakos on Twitter. I'm rarely on there, but those are the two best places to find me at the moment. And I have a YouTube channel, which I'll probably be using more in the new year. And it's just, you can find me Michael Antonakos as well. I think it has a number attached, but it's pretty easy to find.
I know that my Instagram is Melissanthi Mahut.
Hey, thanks for listening. Don't forget to leave us a review, and you can also follow us on social media at The Reading Party Podcast. If you'd like to leave us a book or movie suggestion, then email us at thereadingpartypod@gmail.com.